he he says something like, "I just heard a bear roar." I was like, by the time I had opened my bolt and closed it again, she was like 4 yards from me. And all I did was I grabbed that gun like a pistol and I just pointed it at her and I pulled the trigger, and he could see my carotid artery, and he didn't say anything. Yeah. He's a pro, right? Yeah. And I was just like, "Man, tell my wife I love her." And he's like, "Shut up."
All right, welcome back everybody. It's Aaron here from Corlane Sporting Goods. Greg is by my side here for this one, and we've got a very special guest today. Before we get into the guest, I just wanted to let you know that it's been a little while since we've had our last podcast. Our first two podcasts went over quite well, and we've got lots of constructive feedback, and we are always looking for more guests. So if you are someone or you know someone that you think would be an excellent guest for this podcast, please reach out to them, reach out to us, and comment below the video if you're watching this on YouTube, and let us know who we should talk to next. So our third installment of Hunt Hard, Talk Free, and this is probably one of my most anticipated guests. I've thought about him since the time we started podcasting, as he has an epic adventure to tell and some lessons to teach us. So without further ado, this is Robbie Austin, and I gotta say, we've traveled in some similar circles. We've met through some friends, and I gotta say, he's probably one of the nicest guys I know. He's a hardworking man. He runs his own company, Ram Oilfield Services, and he is a family man who spends his free time with his wife and kids traveling epic adventures everywhere he goes. Yeah. And I follow him on social media to see what these adventures look like, and it's phenomenal. Aside from that, Robbie's quite the outdoorsman, and I would call him a bit of a sheep hunter extraordinaire. And before we started filming, I got to hear a little bit of his pre-story, his background story, and I kind of had to cut him off because I think you guys will want to hear it as well. So, Rob, anything? Did I miss anything in the basic introduction?
That's quite all right. Yeah. So, Aaron just found this out. I'm not from the Peace Country. My brother and I moved up here from the Okanagan to work in the oil field, and but that was 2003, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That long ago.
So it all started. So Aaron asked me earlier about where I'm from, and then I said I was from Vernon, and then he said, "Oh, I thought you were like a Fort St. John born and raised hunter, like a lot of people are up here. Yeah. They've been on pack trips since they were little kids." And I had friends that were already guiding, and they were a couple years older, and I was in university with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and they would come back in October with stories and pictures, and I'd only ever, with my dad, we'd hunted, whitetail and mule deer down in the Kootenays and black bears, and we went on one goat hunt, which was the only mountain hunt, and weren't successful.
Yeah, and mule deer hunting in the Kootenays is very close to a sheep hunt in a lot of places. If you're
down there, it was a lot of park the truck, walk cut bucks.
Oh, okay.
Or stand hunting.
Yeah.
So I hadn't had we did the one goat hunt in Revelstoke, and I almost killed my dad. But anyways, so my friends would come back, and I'm in second year, Bachelor of Science, going to be a pharmacist, and hating my life. I was going to attempt to be a pharmacist. I don't know if I would have got there. And my wife, she was going to be a teacher. She became a school teacher. Great. I had other friends that were driven to their goal. I was just there because I thought I was supposed to be there. And they'd come back and they say, "Oh, yeah, we shot this caribou, this sheep, this, and all this," and they would tell stories, and I finally said, "I want to do that," and they laughed at me. They were like, "Yeah, you don't really have any experience."
Yeah.
And I
You're
said,
a pharmacist in your soft hands.
I said, I'll do the entry level job, and they kind of thought I wasn't serious, and then I kept on pushing it, and then they said, "Well, we'll see if we can get you a job," and they did, and I went up to Gundahoo River Outfitters, which is by Muncho Lake, and worked for the outfitter there at the time, it's still the same family's running the outfit, and they let me come on, which at first Chad said I'd probably be working for $50 a day, and I got more than that, but it was fair, but you know.
Did he get Wrangler position right off the hop?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you're stepping down from a 6 to 7 figure salary as a pharmacist. Had you continued down that path?
That's what they said. They said, you know, you'll be making $50 a day, and I said, I don't care. I need to get away from school, and we went up there, and they put me on a horse a couple times down south before we went up, so I wouldn't look like a complete idiot, because I had no experience. And I went up and went preseason guiding or scouting with one of my friends, and learned quite a bit about hiking and what your body can do, because it's definitely was the most physical thing I've ever done in my life. I'm about 180 pounds now. I was 170 pounds when I went up there, and I went to 155 pounds in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was just a bone rock. And we were hiking, you know, up to 10,000 feet up and down vertical a day.
Because you're scouting.
You're not hunting.
You're not timing. You are just hovering.
And we're starting from the valley bottom in a lot of these every day.
Some of those areas have big valleys.
It was crazy. I've never been so tired in my life, but it was awesome. I progressed. I learned the horses enough that I got to guide that fall, which I wasn't expecting, and which was good because that's kind of what I wanted to do. But I was starting to tell Aaron, the first dead moose I ever saw was the first one I guided. Yeah, and it was.
Oh my!
It was like, holy, like there's a 50-inch moose. Like, well, I didn't even know. Like, I knew it was big, like a shooter, and it was legal, but it's laying on the ground, and the hunter didn't know it was my first moose, and he goes, "Geez, that thing's big!" Like, and I was like, "Yeah, like never seen one." Like, I didn't say it, but
no, about
what now?
Your internal voice is saying, "What have I done?"
Oh, it was terrible.
Now what?
But I got it hacked up and, you know, split up at least so I could get back to the camp, and they had a more experienced guide, and he helped me out and got me on my way. And I think I don't know, it was a really good year for moose. That was like 2003 maybe. Yeah. 2002. The moose, there was lots of moose up there, not like when we go up there now. And first day of almost every guide in the outfit, first day of every hunt, you'd probably kill a 50 to 60 inch moose.
Wow.
It was crazy. I think I got 4 that year, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and you had choice. Like a 50 inch was kind of the minimum, like a nice 50.
Yeah, pretty. Right?
Yeah, what you're
That's
going
what
for.
you want, right?
And, you know, up and bigger. And like, it was easily like you couldn't just pick them out of the field kind of thing. But if you hunted a valley hard for a day, you'd find a moose.
Yeah.
For sure. And they were rutting, and there's moose everywhere. But anyways, I kind of fell in love with it. I did it for a couple years. That's how I got working up here, because the guiding season, like I started in September or July 15th, preseason scouting.
Oh, you started that early. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go up. I wrangled for sheep guides. I never guided.
Yeah.
I didn't have the knowledge. I was probably just getting close to there when I quit.
Yeah, and being a BC guide for sheep and everything, that you have to be really efficient.
Yeah, those guys were
territories. You can be a little bit more green because you're local competition.
Well, like most of those guys were shooting sheep off of age, right?
Yeah.
That I got wrangled for, and I wrangled for some like really experienced sheep guides, and then I progressed, and I got to do moose, goat, caribou every fall for 3 years. But by the 3rd year, I was already like was a welder's helper my first year, because I got back in October, and then I spent 2 weeks with my girl, and then my friend in by Athabasca hired me to do white-tailed deer, which I never knew how to do that either.
But you're a guide, you got to know this, right?
So, but it's a lot different. You stand hunt, and the same thing as the moose. When I went there, that was in 2003-ish. There was tons of deer there, and like a 150 buck, you could pretty much guarantee a hunter would get a 150 buck. Like, they'd have more than one chance at one. And so basically what I did, I put 10,000 kilometers on my F-250 in that 1 month there, and 4,000 on my quad. And you set up stands. You'd have 2 hunters, and they're controlled when they're in the stand. So you take them to the stand, you put them in the stand, and then you come back and you take them out of the stand.
Right.
And they're not even supposed to get out of the stand if they shoot something, with their gun at least.
Yeah.
Like they're supposed to, because you're controlling them in the stand.
Yeah.
And it was really cool actually. And I met a lot of my close friends. I'm still friends with a bunch of the guys that I worked with there, and I worked there for 3 years during the season. And I even did a little stint in Revelstoke, but doing black bear guiding. But by the end of the 3 years, I was already doing what I'm doing now with the back trucks. I was working for my friend, and I was kind of burning out on. I had like exceptional hunters that were like you were in camp with a guy hunting.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And then I had these entitled people.
Yeah.
And that it just burnt me out. And I was taking holidays at the end to be with them. And the last year I had 2 of the best hunters I'd ever had, and then 2 of the not best.
You can say they were terrible.
Yeah,
they
were terrible. Yeah. It was, and it just, by the end of the season, the outfitter I worked for, Art, was really good, and he said, "You know what? Do you want to go guide this guy, or do you want to go with your dad and look for lost horses?" I was like, "Lost horses," and I went and cut firewood and horse trails, and then
left the strays.
Yeah, but then we got to start sheep hunting for ourselves, so it was awesome. But
and he'd let you hunt the areas that you guided.
Not really. What he did do, Art was really good to me, and he was good to a lot of his guides, especially guys that came back and worked really hard.
Yeah.
But the one year, hunt got canceled, so he said, "Well, you haven't been to this area. Take these horses, go up there, spend 8 days scouting, and I bought you a caribou tag."
Oh wow.
So I hunted, and I got a really good caribou, it's on my wall. It's a really good bull, but I don't know. Have you ever hunted by yourself for 8 days, like
Nope.
without another human? It's a different thing. I was definitely talking with my horses a lot. Like it was like I was so lonely after like I'm a talkative guy.
Yeah.
And after a couple days, it was just like, okay, this is awesome. And I think I was probably day 5 that I was like, okay, this is fine. I can do this, but I like people.
Yeah.
And Art flew in. It was like the end of September, so caribou ends then, right?
Yeah.
And he flew in and he said, "Where's your caribou?" And I said, I didn't shoot one. I saw 4 or 5 legal bulls, but nothing that I don't want to shoot something if I don't look at it and I'm happy every time I see it. Especially like I'm taking the meat, but that's a trophy animal to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I'm taking the meat, but I might only shoot one. So
That's right.
when I look at it,
Yeah.
whether it's big or small, I just want like a memory, right?
Yeah.
And so he says, "Okay, the hunter is not coming in until tomorrow, and tomorrow's the last day of the season. Tomorrow morning you're going to go out and find that caribou you haven't found, and you're going to shoot it and deal with it and be back at the camp for tomorrow night for when the hunter comes in." And I had seen the same 4 or 5 bulls. Like there were a couple hundred caribou up there in these 3 different drainages that I was hunting. And I had seen them, and I went other ways and didn't see any. I saw them almost every time I went up there. I could find all the bulls. And I went up there that next morning in the fog, found a different bull that I'd never seen, way nicer than the other ones, and shot it. But they said the funny thing was, I think it's because I've been on my own so long, I had the sat phone because he told me, as soon as you shoot one, I need to know so I can try and fly it out so your hunter doesn't have to look at your animal.
Yeah.
Because that's not really professional.
Yeah.
No, it is not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hunting for yourself
Yeah.
while guiding, again, we touched on a little bit of that on another conversation, is why didn't I shoot a bull that good? You know,
Exactly.
you're setting a bar. He doesn't know that you just spend 8 days tromping around
No.
and looking
Yeah.
at everything else.
And then that was my second year, I think.
Yeah.
But so I shoot it, but nobody answered the sat phone at the lodge, so I had the sat phone on me, and I call right after he's down. I went and checked that he's down, and I had my pack beside him, and I'm up on like a ridge in the fog with no trees, like it's above alpine,
Yeah.
or it's alpine, and they said the message was the saddest sounding guy who just shot a really nice caribou they'd ever heard. It's like, "Hey guys, this is Robbie. I got my caribou. I guess you should fly in tonight if you can and get it." And then they hung up. They said something's wrong with this guy. But
Just the monotone.
yeah, it was really weird.
Flat
Like,
line.
especially, it was fine when you're like hiking and hunting, and then you get back to because we had a cabin that we were coming back to, and I deal with my horses and get them all squared away and kicked out, and then it was like, okay, I guess I'll go to bed. Like,
Yeah,
I read my book for a while.
Now I got to kill
yeah.
3 hours and then
Yeah.
maybe go pick.
Because it's dark. It's end of September.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of dark.
8:30.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was some really good times up there. So I did get to hunt a little bit when I didn't have a hunter.
Right.
But I hunt areas close to that now. I made the outfitter. We had a handshake when he hired me that I wouldn't hunt his area,
Yeah.
and I'm friends with them. Like, I count them as friends, right? So I wouldn't do it anyways. Like, they paid me to learn how to do that in their area. It would be very
Disrespectful.
if somebody did that to me, it would bother me.
Yeah.
Right?
And the difference is that if you're invited to, or what,
Oh yeah,
it's,
completely different.
you know, it's like an invitation to a ranch or a farm or showing a spot or whatever. I mean, you've been basically provided this information, and it is very important information.
Oh, yeah.
And it affects his bottom line as well. Like,
They paid me for 300 days for over 3 years
Yeah.
to learn how to hunt in their area. Right?
Yeah.
that's right. So,
And every trophy you take out of there is one less that they're.
Well, yeah,
Paying
and
fines,
also, like, it would just bother me if,
Yep.
like, he's a business person, but that's his family business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but even just hunting etiquette. If you invited me out elk hunting this weekend
Yeah.
and took
To
me to
my
a spot that I've
yeah.
never been, I wouldn't be going back to that spot without you
Or
beside me or your
you
permission.
or me saying, hey,
Head on.
that's his first time hunting.
Yeah.
This guy.
Take him out there.
Take him out there.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
But
enforce the same kind of
Yeah.
policies that I do.
Hunting ethics
For
are,
sure.
are huge, and it's one of those things that can make or break the experience for many first time or.
I just feel like it's an
seasoned
honesty
hunters.
thing.
And the relationships. I mean, a lot of hunting relationships are basically starts off good. You see this side of a guy or this side of the guy, they cross a moral standard
Yeah.
that you operate within.
Yep.
It's pretty much the last time that person hunts you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it can be all sorts of different things that
And
deal with that.
I find it interesting on some of the hunting Facebook posts and forums and stuff. People are like, hey, anyone want to take me hunting this weekend? I'm heading to this area. And it's just been ingrained in me from such a young age that hunting is one of those things that your hunting partners are, the number of partners you have are like this, and you keep them close. And I mean, once those relationships start, it's not one of those, let's take everyone and their dog and go with everyone, because ethics come into play, honesty,
Yeah.
law abiding.
It
Some
might be
people have
me and
different
you,
morals.
your spot.
Yep.
But me and you will never go into your spot.
Right.
No, unless you were both like, hey,
Hey, Robbie's sweet. Let's,
yeah. He's never
He's never
shot a
shot
bull
an
elk,
elk. Like,
and we
can you
just saw
believe
this
this?
perfect 5x5.
let's get him out here,
Yeah.
No, that's
this is a
huge,
guy that,
right?
It's kind of funny.
Well, it's the same thing. Like, you've hunted a lot of areas. I think you've done a little bit of guiding too,
Oh,
haven't you? Or maybe
Yeah.
a fair bit. But as soon as people that don't know you very well, that are avid hunters, they're grilling you like, oh well, what do you know about the area?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna. Like,
What do you know about it?
I'm not hunting there. I'm not gonna tell you
No.
how to hunt there.
No.
Like that. That's like terrible. But a guy's got to try, right?
Some people.
Yeah,
talk.
maybe. I mean, again, I would
Well,
never.
like if somebody asks and they want to tell, that's their deal, right?
Yep.
But
Yeah.
furthermore, I don't know. The guiding lifestyle is great, but I'm actually not a crazy sheep hunter. I like sheep hunting.
Yep.
But it was for the longest time it was my excuse to go in the mountains, because I didn't shoot around for like 5 years after I quit guiding. My very first hunt, on like day 3, we saw like a decent stone sheep. I was with a friend who's really experienced, so like I looked at it and I was like, yeah, that's a legal ram and it looks nice, but I'm not excited. I'm big on dark rams, and it was a light ram, and it was in summer, so it wasn't haired up, and it wasn't huge. It was 8 or 9 though, so he was old enough.
Yeah, mature. Right?
I'm big on I'm big on like unique, like huge. Obviously, that's a whole other level.
Oh yeah.
But you know, outside of that, I'm big on really old, unique. Because if I only shoot one, that's my, and I'm not going to shoot around every year. That's it's not me. Even if I had the chance, unless I'm shooting like 13-year-olds, I would shoot a 12 or 13-year-old round every year.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't shoot an 8-year-old round every year.
And that was something that I learned on my first sheep trip, which we'll talk about a little bit here. We'll probably have a whole podcast just on that one, but I'd love to talk a little bit about it. But I gained a lot of respect for the guys that I went sheep hunting with and their ethics on sheep hunting versus sheep killing.
Yeah.
Each one of the 3 guys that I went with have all have a ram on the wall.
Yeah.
And they basically said, you got first pull of the trigger if we come across a legal ram, and it's up to you to whether you want to take it or not, and what your thoughts are on. Of course, we spent hours figuring out or confirming that it was a legal ram, even though we all right off the bat said, yeah, it's legal. We spent another 3 to 4 hours with spotting scopes and a camera, and we spent the time before we made sure all 4 of us agreed for sure that's a legal ram. But the day after, when we're skinning out the face, there was John was like, I gotta get up and go for a stretch, and how come you guys aren't over there scoping the hillside kind of thing? And he says, I gotta go stretch my legs. And so I continue. He showed me how to flip the eyelid, or do everything on the skull, and he walked away. And so I'm still sitting there just
picking away at it.
Picking away and just so slow. But I was just learning. And so while I'm doing that, he comes back and he's like, grab your camera. He's, come here. And the other guys are sitting back, relaxing kind of thing. And so grab the camera, we head over, and we saw another ram, and the other guys came over, and we got pictures of it and stuff, and we all took some time looking at it, and it was, you know what, pretty sure that one's legal too. What do you guys think? Is it worth trying to get closer? And now it's the evening of the next day, and we're planning on heading out the next morning.
Yeah.
We're like, it's going to add another day. We got to get back to the boat, and all 3 of them said, you know what, we've got a ram on the wall. That thing doesn't blow any of us away. If it was me and it was my first ram, I would have been, I'm hiking over there to get a closer look for sure. Yeah. But we're talking a shale slide with some death cliffs and stuff like that.
And you just shot a ram.
And I just shot a ram. So I mean,
so you're like, great.
Mine had more mass. It had more character. It's ugly. It curls in. It's just lots of crazy character to it. For a first ram, I couldn't have picked a ram that would have made me more happy. I mean, I now. And from talking to them and listening to them, they talked a lot about the ethics of sheep hunting versus sheep killing. There are guys that want to go out every year and come home with a sheep. They don't care what it is. If it's legal, they want to
shoot a big one, but they'll take a ram at the end of the hunt.
Yeah, they want that picture.
Can't shoot a 170-inch whitetail if you keep shooting 135s all the time.
Yeah,
right?
and I saw it from a different perspective because of what they had to say, and I had a lot of respect for all 3 of them because we could have come home with 2, but they all said this is not about the kill and just getting a ram on the wall. It's about the experience and the uniqueness of the ram that you take and the story that goes with it and everything, and opened my eyes to see that it wasn't ram killing.
Yeah, which, you know what, I don't know if I'm 100% against it. It's just I don't think everyone should be taking a ram, like, because if everybody did, we'd have a serious problem.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's one thing if there's a couple, like, because some of those guys that take a ram every year are beasts. Like, those guys are crazy fit. Like, they hike hard to get that. They don't, a lot of them don't just fall into it.
No.
But, and then they're taking that whole sheep out every year. And I'm just, like, sometimes I'm in awe of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they keep on doing better, but, and it, it's all a personal preference.
Yeah.
I'm no, like, authority on this.
No,
it's just my personal thoughts on it.
And ethics might have been the wrong word because it's fully ethical too.
Yeah.
Everything's legal about it, but it's just that personal choice and leaving them to get 1 year bigger, and they might be there next. Like there's so much.
There's just a good chance if they're 8 or 9 that they're not going to be there.
Yep.
But maybe I'm lazy too. I don't want to pack a sheep off if I don't need to. It's a lot of work. Like.
Yep.
But like I said, I like going to be up there. Like, I was not quite as happy. Like, I like being in the Alpine. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But I was just as happy being out in the bush half the time cutting horse trail.
Yeah.
Like, I love being out there. So for 5 years, I didn't kill a ram.
Yeah.
I didn't even have an opportunity on 2 of my hunts. or nothing that even floated a person's boat.
Yeah, or
But the first 3 days, I said no,
Yeah.
because we were both looking at it, and my friend, who was like, got me into it basically, he's like, yeah, it's a respectable ram. It's probably 150. Like, it's a good ram.
Yeah.
It's 8 or 9 years old. Like, it's legal curl, and I was just like, I am not excited. Like, it doesn't. When I look at that. And it's the third day of our hunt, which is 12 days.
Yeah.
Like, it's
your
hot
heart
out.
ain't beating out of your chest.
No, and
Yeah.
are we going to have a shorter hunt to shoot that sheep? I don't want to.
Yeah.
I said, if you want to, let's do it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so finally, 5 years later, I got my first ram, and it's not a big ram. It's 13 and a half years old.
Nice.
Which is made me happy, because my brother shot a cranker like 3 weeks before. He was on a backpack hunt, shot a book ram, like a beautiful, like, what is it,
Everything.
42-inch ram.
Everything.
Yeah, it's like 15 and a quarter, I don't know, big bases,
Yeah.
42 inches long, 42 and a half or something. It is massive, like one of the biggest sheep I've ever held in my hands.
Yeah.
And we're going out like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later on my hunt on the horses, and he knew I was like fairly picky, like, it doesn't have to be big, but it has to be old or unique or like a broken horn ram.
Pruned off.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
and he made me agree that any respectable ram I will shoot on this hunt. He's like, you need to get a sheep. Our business is called Ram Oilfield. And,
Not ramless.
Yeah.
so we find a ram finally, and we bedded him the night before, because I wasn't comfortable shooting over 500 yards. He had just got his Husqvarna dialed in, and I might have too, but I hadn't shot it. And he's like, oh, these things are, like, I've shot mine lots, I could shoot that. I was like, I don't want to. If I wound it, it's at 500 yards. I'm not a good enough shooter
Yeah.
to keep on shooting at it out to 800 yards. Like, I don't feel confident. We're not going to, so fair enough. We bedded them, and we had aged him. He was definitely full curl. We had aged him at 500 yards, because it was nice and not hot out, to like at least 10.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
You're stacked up in that bottom.
Yeah, he was. So the next morning we came back and got him. Fairly easy stock, like it was a couple hours, but everything went fairly well. And he fell off the mountain, and luckily, unfortunately, I was really excited about getting a lot of the meat, and a good portion of it got destroyed.
Yeah.
So we packed it out anyways, but I even took video for the COs to see, like,
I did the same thing.
because I could grab it. He fell about 700 yards bouncing, and didn't break his horns somehow, but
Yeah.
you could grab the back of that ram, and his head was laying on the ground, and you could twist him, and he was like squishy.
Jello.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was terrible. It made me sick almost, coming down the mountain, not seeing the sheep, just following like these.
The bounce.
Well,
Rocks.
there's one spot there was a rock pointed about like that was it had probably fallen like 150 feet free falling, and then bounced off this shale, and then hit this rock, and it eviscerated it.
Wow.
And so the next thing I found was intestines,
Yeah.
and the ram was still like hundreds of yards below me.
Yeah.
But got the ram out, and it's a beautiful ram, and every time I look at it, I'm happy. And yeah, that's how we got into sheep hunting.
Right on. And you've each got one now?
Yeah, Matt, my brother, is all about the bighorns right now.
Oh, okay.
He's gearing up. I think this will be his third year going. He goes with some friends down in the southern Kootenays, and he just is in love with it right now. But I am also not going on as many big hunts lately, because my kids are at that age. They're 7 and 9 right now.
Yeah.
And we're doing a lot of fun stuff, and that's time with them.
That you're missing.
Like, if I go on the hunt without them, right?
Yeah.
It's time that I don't get to spend with them, because
And they're just at that age where it's tough to include them in a full-on different style
for
hunt.
sure.
Yeah.
It's you kind of have owning your own business. It's more in our heads probably, but because there's two of us, so one guy can leave, but you can only take so many days away from the company.
Yeah.
And feel good about it.
Yeah.
So throughout the year, we have a place at the ski hill, and I take quite a few days on the weekends in the winter that I go there, and then we do family trips, and so I kind of every year there's 7 or 8 or 9 days. That's what I get in the mountains if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's I could go every year without killing anything though.
Just to be in the mountains.
Yeah. Like I'm actually after a goat right now.
Yeah.
Like that's if I might go with a friend here on the 24th for 8 or 9 days. He's not a horse guy, but we agreed that we'll take 4 horses and pack light if we go. And he saw a ram a little while ago that he wants to go back and see if he can find again or have a chance. And he was starting to tell me, he's like, it's my spot, we can go in, we can, and he's like, but that ram, and I said, whatever, I won't even shoot anything if you don't want me to, it's your spot. He's like, I was like, you could have the ram. I said, if there's another ram and it's something unique, I will be interested in it. But I said I could care less if I actually shoot a sheep. I'd be just as happy to go look at it.
Yeah.
Assistant.
Yeah. I like being the wrangler still.
Yeah.
Well, and with the intensity of sheep hunting, I mean, doing a little digging and research, I've spent so much time now on Google Earth and online and looking up all sorts of things and about sheep hunting because I had such a phenomenal trip. I mean, I lost 9 pounds in 7 days on the trip.
Oh, I bet.
And I lost about 9 pounds leading up to the trip over a couple months just doing the cardio stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just, I see the addiction and the drive to want to get back out and do it again.
Oh, for sure.
Just being out there with all your gear and just the being up there and the accomplishment of getting to a spot like that and looking over and seeing the sights and not another person in sight, hopefully.
Well, at the point when I went that first year as a wrangler, that was by and far, it probably still is one of the hardest physical things I've ever done in my life.
Yep.
Like, I've done, not crazy stuff, but I've done the Emperor's Challenge.
Yep.
That is like a part of a day of sheep hunting. Like, a hard day of sheep hunting is like doing that a couple times.
Yeah.
Like, it is, and it's crazy when you like do it, how you just get accustomed to it. It's still hard.
Yeah.
Like 100 days into the season, it's still hard to hike that mountain.
Yeah.
But you hike it.
It never gets easier.
No, but you hike it faster.
You can just do it longer.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the craziest part is even now, like that was 13 years ago that I quit guiding. So I was getting like crazy exercise for the first half of the season, at least, until I started doing boosts, and then I'd quite often pack on more weight than I ever have in my life.
Yeah, because
you're metabolism.
You're eating.
Yeah.
I ate like crazy.
Yeah.
Like we'd make spaghetti. We make as much could fit on it. Like you do a pound of hamburger for 2 guys, a big can of sauce, a can of tomatoes, can of mushrooms.
Yeah.
And then you chop garlic in there, and then like noodles, like, and you'd have a plate like that every day. We ate spaghetti almost every day. And
Carb loading.
Yeah.
every morning was pancakes with peanut butter and jam and bacon on top, and I lost weight the whole time.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
You can just eat anything,
Oh,
which is good.
Well, and that's why sheep hunting is, from what I read online, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but only 3% of hunters actually are successful sheep hunters because it's so intense.
well, and there's especially if you go into new areas and you're inexperienced, there's a lot of luck, especially after the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yep.
Because those rams have been in there for a bit. They're habituated to that area unless a predator chases them out, which we are predators.
Yep.
And like, I am not a pro. Like, I have met sheep hunters that are way, way better, way more experienced than me. But, like, there's a lot of guys getting into it, and not that it's even their fault, but you're sitting on a mountain way over and you see them walk over the top of the mountain, blow the sheep out, right? It's crazy.
I mean, even this year, just coming back from a hunt, the wind was bad in this valley, and we'd seen rams all in here, and we agreed, nice rams, a couple small squeakers. We're like, well, we'll push it toward evening. The wind's been changing right toward dark. But by the time we get to the tail end of this valley, you're back at late. So, same thing, bad wind. I mean, everything in that valley was sneaking out the back. Like, I'd spotted a couple caribou cows and stuff, and they're sneaking out the back and just trickling off into these little fingers and hiding as we're going through. I wasn't all that concerned about it,
No.
nor was the guy I was with. You know, like, let's just get back there and take a peek around. Into this little hidden basin, which the wind was good coming out of it. But everything else in that whole valley, if you don't think you stink up like a mile worth of real estate, you do.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And, you know, from spotting everything previously, looking at, like I say, a couple caribou, the moment we really started moving through, and caribou are not super spooky.
No.
Those
Do this and they run back to you.
Yeah. So, but
Or
if
sometimes.
they see you, they can accept you.
Yeah.
If they hear you, they might not care. They smell you, they don't like it. Big time.
Yeah, they. That's why they're always trying to get your wind, right? They'll run right up to you trying to get your wind, thinking they can run away from you, I think.
Yeah, I'm fast.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you see those type of animals, which starting to move, and so we went in, and got into the spot, and I hiked up this little thing. I busted a ram below me that was bedded in buckbrush, like at the bottom of the valley, right? I didn't even see it. My friend Lou had seen it. I missed. I'm just beelining for this thing so I can get up real high to look back in this basin. So I'm watching as I'm going up into here.
Yeah.
This area, I mean, we wrote it off already. It's a small one. He said, yeah, it was just, he sat down and he was waiting for me because he said, I ain't going to walk up there. You go first. You will run up there. So, and then boom, now a half curl ram pops up all on his own right there. And then on our exit, I'm walking out and I catch a bunch of ewes and lambs that just come out of this little notch and were just poke their noses out up over top and they had left, guaranteed. They're feeding down in the buckbrush and stuff quite low this time of year.
Yeah.
And they had exited and hid. And then, you know, things kind of calmed down, everything was good. So on our way out, boom, boom, boom. So you think about what you push out.
And like, that's like, I have done all these things that any rookie has done, for sure. Not even knowing that, you know, like, it's like if somebody says, you know, I saw 2 bears walking through, like I was hunting for 5 days and I saw 2 bears. Well, if you're walking around the 5 days and there's bears in there, you probably walked by 10 and you didn't even know it, right? Like, and it's the same with all those animals. But, you know, there's some guys that are more turned on to it. I'm not one of those guys. I just love being up there, and I enjoy, like, I really enjoy it.
Yeah,
I'm super happy when I'm
You don't have to micromanage the situation. You let it land on your lap, and that's good enough.
Yeah, no, it's one of the best things about being a BC resident is having all the opportunity we have
to
do it.
Talking to an Albertan customer that was just showing me phenomenal footage of a buck that I hope I get to show off to the general public, to you guys, to everybody when he gets it. But he's in Alberta. He can't just go out and shoot this buck with a gun. He's like, I have to take my bow because I didn't get the draw. This thing is a once-in-a-lifetime buck that he's got on film, but it's getting spooked, or to try and get close enough to it, it's bedded down in a field with bales behind it, but there's too many other deer in the field that pop up and run away and stuff and push this guy out every time he goes back. But the videos he showed me yesterday were phenomenal, but in BC, legal buck, shoot it, get the gun, pop it.
No, we're blessed to live here, like as hunters, and even if you're not a hunter, if you just like, I just came up through Jasper with my kids in the motorhome, and we went for a couple little hikes, and it was, you know, I was in Alberta, but that's the Rocky Mountains, and you're walking around in there, and you're like, there's very few places in the world that you can just go see all this. Like, you drive for hours through those mountains, and it's all open for us to just go walk around there. It's unreal.
So many parts of the world, they've closed them off, created parks that you can't even go into and stuff. That, I mean, we right now there's some battles that we're seeing with some government, but we won't get into that. But we're very fortunate in BC.
To be able to and we can all afford to go there. Like, there's other places in the world that maybe you could go, but you can't even afford to do it.
No.
And like a lot of places that have mountains that, you know, you can't even, I don't know, we're lucky.
The only spot that I've experienced that I found was better for hunting was the Yukon.
I have never been there other than on the road.
Okay.
And I've had a lot of friends say it's like a totally different thing than what I'm used to here.
It was phenomenal.
It's just like when we go and, like, I did hunt for a bit up for Rockies down in like the Fernie area.
Yep.
And that's like a totally different. Those mountains are huge.
Yeah.
They're like I thought we were hiking mountains here. Like one mountain, like not going up and down and up and down. One mountain is a day.
Yep.
Like they are massive.
Yeah.
That is a marathon.
Yeah, even when I was down there on my intro to horse hunting, like the pass, the low point between the mountains we were hunting was 7,350 feet. That was the nice way.
Oh, it's crazy. Those things just go on and on. Like it's rugged.
Yeah.
And
It's
there's
like
bush.
13 kilometers to just all of a sudden get into an alpine situation. Like it's just like,
Yeah, and there wasn't a lot of places where you can just like where we hunt. You can, if you want to stay out of the bush, you can just choose to hunt an area that you start your camps above the bush, and there's all these little valleys and stuff. Whereas there, the valleys were all way down at whatever 3,500 feet, and the top of the mountains are 9 or what, like it was a different thing. Those guys in the Kootenays there, like that are guiding sheep, they are machines.
Yeah.
Like that.
and it's very competitive there.
Oh,
too.
I've never seen so many other hunters.
Yeah.
Like when I go sheep hunting, my goal, if I see people here, I go there. Like I don't want to be around people, and I can usually accomplish that at least for the majority of my hunt.
Yeah, you cross paths with someone comes pouring over a valley and heading out.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of times you'll be in camp and you catch someone moving.
Or somebody comes in.
Someone's coming out of the whatever the valley next down. Just because you're at a crossroads where.
Yeah. Or you might see people a long ways off, but
Yeah, because you.
thank you.
Yeah, you never.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah. Because you.
Oh, yeah.
You never. Yeah. It never. I should say, surprises me when I'll be glassing all of a sudden and like, hey. That's a guy. I just skylined a
He
guy.
looks like he's wearing kuyu.
Yeah. Kuyu stood out like a silver barrel. Yeah.
On my ram hunt there, we were bedded down and watching my ram from 9:30 in the morning till about noon. And when we decided, let's go get him, John said, "What the hell was that?" I said, "What's what?" He said, "Look over there." So we're in this draw and watching my ram in by a lick. And on the skyline, he said, "I just saw a flash." So we take the spotting scopes and we turn them 90 degrees, and it's about 1,100 yards through the bowl and up the other side. We all get our spotting scopes and camera on them, and there's 2 guides and a hunter. And so then, of course, some words were said, and what now, and good thing we didn't push them that way. And we got looking and thinking, man, are they going to try and pull off an 1,100 yard shot? Because turns out they stuck around. They weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
They stayed for the entire event and watched it. But as I snapped some photos.
Did they watch you kill your ram?
Yep. And so I zoomed in on the pictures that I took, and Buddy has a bow. So there's 2 a guide and a wrangler, 2 young guides, we're not sure what. And they're right skyline, and there's one little grassy area that dropped off that they're sitting, and they've got 2 spotting scopes and a camera and a tripod set up right into the same valley we're looking into. And so we kind of did one of these back and forth and saw each other, and so then now the pressure's on and being watched.
Well, if you're already on a ram, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing if you're
It's
just
a foot race.
yeah.
And so I mean, from where they were, there's no getting down to where we were.
Especially
quickly.
with the bow, a lot of times like that has to be really planned. Like the couple of guys that I talked to, they watch that ram for a couple of days quite often.
Yeah.
And like, that ram quite often feeds back up this way or
and
comes down that way, and they'll set up unless the whatever fluke that the ram just pops out and it works. But
so the draw that we were trying to hike up or planning on hiking up, the rams go up and bed down up top is what we kind of figured from being there, and we think they were waiting for them for the evening to come up top and shoot it from above up the one draw, that the easy draw that it would have been for them to go up.
yeah,
And so we think that's what was happening, or they're hoping we pushed them up, or we were going to push them
because you might
through
bump
and up.
them up right to them.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly. And so
When we bow hunted rams, often we would intentionally make ourselves present enough, and the rams would move in a direction where other buddy was
It's set up for
already
the bow.
located.
Yeah.
They start watching you, they start leaving. you watch them once or twice to see what their habits are. Then you go and just move them.
Yeah.
You don't chase them.
Yeah.
You move
Bump
them.
Yeah.
They start getting up or paying attention to you. They start moving and say they exit stage left, and you are in their exit zone, and that's where you get them.
Well, and when I piled the ram up and it came crashing down and we kind of did the high five and stuff, the first thing that John said was, "That guy just paid $50,000 to watch you shoot the only legal ram in the valley." Like,
It's such the guide, like the resident guide thing, like when you meet in the mountains, it's, if everyone can just act respectful,
yep.
it's good.
Yeah.
And that's because, I guided, I was working in the mountains before I actually got to hunt.
Yeah.
And so I came at it from like zero experience to, that was my job.
Yeah.
And then I went hunting, whereas most people had already, like, they hunt before they guide, so they're kind of already on both sides. So it was, like, and I just thought, I'm naive maybe, but everyone's going to act respectful, and because that's how I would act if I was that guide.
Yeah.
If I saw somebody, I don't own the area.
Yeah.
Like,
This is BC's background. We all have a right to
we
be
all have a right to be there. So try and get along, and if they're decent people, because I wouldn't say like, this is, I saw rams up here, it just, if you quiz them out, you try not, as the guide and even as the hunter, try not to give too much information.
Yeah.
But if they're friendly, hey, well, we're going to be hunting like this drainage.
Yeah, my intention is
Yeah.
to finish this.
Yeah, and if they're like, well, we've already been up there, great, I'll go that way.
Yeah.
Like, I do not want to be around people, but it's a totally different thing. If you've already got a ram figured out, then it's
We're
like,
sitting on them.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, I'm hunting this.
Yeah.
And most people are like, most of the guides don't want to be anywhere near a resident hunter.
Yeah.
I did run into one time a guy that tried to like basically tell me like, what are you doing up here? Like, I'm in the middle, near Prophet River.
Yeah.
Like way off the highway. And this guy, he tried to pull the tough man show, and I'm trying to be friendly. It's like 9:30 at night, and I'm on my horse, and I'm riding down an airstrip to go camp, and he comes out all, chest puffed up.
Yeah.
And I was trying to be friendly, and then finally I was like, listen, I will hunt wherever I want, so why don't we just get along? Like, don't try and tell me, like, you don't own this.
Yeah.
And then he like calmed down, but then he just told me a bunch of lies. He told me I didn't know, his wrangler. He said, oh yeah, that guy's hunting this and I'm hunting that. And
Yeah.
my brother and I go in another direction. We'd never been there before. Wasted a bunch of time. Didn't get on any good rams. And coming out, they had killed with a guy who was like in his 70s who'd had like his hips and knees just redone. Killed like a 10-year-old bruned off like 160, huge ram. and I was like, oh, that's sweet. And he's showing me. And then I'm like, how'd the other guy do? And he was like, what other guy do? I kind of lost it and we left. It was like, dirty trick.
We ran into guys up the river that weren't guides, it was just other residents, but they had choice words because, well, we're going to be going to hunt there. Initially when we pulled up, stopped, said hi, made some small talk because this was the area we had planned on going. And you always expect to run into people on the river, and there's camps set up everywhere that looks like a decent spot to go in.
You were up the Musqueam area?
Yeah. And just small talk, chatting with them for a little bit, and they're like, yeah, we camp this spot quite regularly and stuff, and we're going to be going up that mountain range, like one range over up there. Oh yeah, cool, that's good. What are you guys up to? Well, we're probably going to head in this direction. And they're like, wow, that's actually where we're going. Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. And so the next day, so we disappear and go set up camp elsewhere, and then they come down later in that day, and they're, what are you guys doing? Just setting up camp and stuff. Well, where are you going to go? In this general direction? Well, we're going to be right on top of each other, and we're going to be, and they're like, but that's the one spot we go. We're like, that's fine. We're going to be in the same vicinity, but guarantee you won't see us up. And they went on the long-winded story, and they ended up, like, never crossed paths once with them, but they tried to strong-arm us out of there the first day.
Oh, really?
You don't need to be anywhere in this mountain because we're going to be here. And we're leaving today. You're not leaving till tomorrow. There's not going to be a chance of anything. And it was just, No, that's fine. And of course, we didn't get into the trail that we were going to find and get to, but it was just, this mountain is ours, was there.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for 23 years. This mountain is for us to hunt on.
Oh, there's super possessive, but I guess I'm not competitive enough because I'm just like, I do not, like if I can go the whole hunt and I don't see people, but I don't see sheep,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'd be happier than seeing rams and like butting heads with people.
Yeah.
And I'll go hunt areas that aren't as popular
Yeah.
because I just don't want to see the people.
And that's why I have a hard time with hunting private land versus public land, because if you're on somebody's farm and you have permission, and then you run into someone else and they're like, I'm the only one with permission, like, just the whole dynamic of it ruins it for me. I want nothing to do with that, and I'll go take the public land where you run into someone, you give them the nod, and you continue on.
Yeah.
Like when I'm moose hunting or elk hunting,
sure.
and it's just part of the experience. It belongs to everybody. It's crown land that we all can use.
And just
Yeah, it's extra special when you're hunting your own land and guys are trying to kick you off your own place. They're like, dude, we have exclusive permission. I'm like, I
I have
know.
the deed.
The best,
I got the
best
title
one
to all
is
this land you're hunting on. Yeah.
the guy, like, you know, the Hutterites live up the road from us.
Yep.
And I get along great. They're great neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they even farm the tiny bit of my field that's left. And I'll catch guys glassing mine and my neighbor's field. My neighbor really doesn't let anyone hunt. He's let me hunt in there a couple times, and he let one neighbor. And he would tell me every time I would say, "Is it all right if I still hunt the field in your portion?" He'd say, "Yeah." And the only other person is this guy and his daughter.
Yeah.
And that's the only people. So I know who can hunt. And you know, most of it you'll be shooting towards my house anyways. And every season, like, it's one thing for people to slow down because
There's animals in the field.
yeah, we used to have alfalfa, tons of animals. Like when we bought our place, there'd be 100 deer in the field some nights. It was crazy, and moose everywhere. And so I would stop and look at anybody's field with that much game.
Yeah.
But then when they're there, like 15 minutes later, still, and it's hunting season, and you go up and you knock, knock, knock. How's it going? Good. What you guys doing? Oh, just out driving around.
Yeah.
Well, are you guys planning on hunting this field? Because it's posted private property. Oh, no, the Hutterites said we could, and it's like, well, they wouldn't tell you you can hunt this field. I guarantee it. And I'm pretty sure that the Hutterites never even would have told those guys. You know, like it's just something they know to say because they're a large landowner.
Yeah.
So they just get group picked. Like, oh, we'll pick them because you know they have say 30,000 acres that they're in charge
The
of.
accountability.
Yeah.
It was someone with the last name Cheddar told me that I had to.
Yeah, it's not fair. You talk to any of the guys, and they're like, no, definitely they wouldn't tell somebody to hunt in your field. But yeah, it's
Yeah. So to get into the meat and potatoes of the reason we wanted to have you on, I mean, this has been phenomenal this first hour or so
but this
talking
would
about
happen
hunting.
without a podcast. This is
Exactly. And that's the cool thing about the hunting community and people wanting to share stories and stuff. But you have a very specific story that I think we can use as a teaching tool, and people can learn a lot from. And I think it's a very important story to be told, and I think it's something that could save lives down the road.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to just start from the beginning and let us know what happened.
Okay. Well, was that 2015? Went on a sheep hunt. My wife's a school teacher, and she wanted to come, and we went with friends. It was in the Bassam River area, so in between the Prophet and the Redfern Trail.
Yeah.
There's like the Prophet, Bassam kind of zigzags down toward like from Redfern.
Yeah.
And the Redfern Trail. It's kind of like three.
Yeah, you got the Keeleys, you got the Bessas, the Neves, and all, you know.
And it's a really popular area, especially that Redfern corridor.
Yeah.
And lots of people go through there. It's a quad corridor trail, right?
Yeah.
Eco people to
Yeah.
just
It's beautiful,
sightseeing,
too.
like
Yeah.
It's like
I was up there for the first time to actually Redfern this year.
Oh, for real?
I've never been there
I haven't
until
been in
this
there
year.
either.
I have a lot of friends actually, like
Drew and
Drew and Susan.
Yeah.
We've talked that maybe in the next couple of years, because it is like the
Oh, it's-
Lake Louise of the North, or whatever you want to call it. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
And you're right in the mountains, and you can get there by quad. It's
Yeah.
unreal. So we took our horses
With effort.
Yeah, yeah.
and probably a breakdown or two.
Don't bring a really crappy quad. But so we're going horseback hunt because that's what I like to do. And my wife and I have, I think we have 6 horses, and then my brother has horses, and we have all the pack gear, and that's how I do my hunts usually. And friends of ours who had hunted that area a lot over the years, so we were going to the north of the Redfern Trail off the Bassam and kind of hunting a general area there, and no plan, and just go up there and have a fun hunt. So there's 5 of us. There was my friends Gavin and Paula, who had been in the area lots, and they're experienced horseback hunters, and then my wife Leah and my best friend Chris, and we all went, and we had a pretty good hunt. We had some horse issues, which were sad. We actually lost a horse in the first couple days of the hunt. It was terrible. We think it ate something that poisoned it. So that was a bad deal. And then we left that area subsequently because there's a dead horse up there.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get it out. So then we hunted closer to the Bassam, like we were up a drainage. We came back, and we were having a really great time outside of it really sucks to lose a horse. First time I'd ever had happened. And it was my brother's horse, actually, which sucked even more. Not because I had to buy him a new one, because I would, but it wasn't even my horse.
Yeah.
And anyways, that was a bad deal.
It's borrowed gear, and
Yeah, and you do, like, I
Emotional.
form attachments to them. Even like that one, I didn't even barely know the thing in it.
But it's part of the strip.
It's like if somebody's dog died. It's traumatic unless it's a vicious killer, right? Like,
Yeah. And if you were dog sitting while they were away, it'd be tough.
Yeah,
Same.
and that's an unspoken thing. If you're gonna lend your horses to somebody, like, the unspoken thing is I am going to replace that animal.
Yeah.
But things happen. It's
Yeah.
You're not riding at Gymkhana. You're in the mountains, and anyways.
adversity is around everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You walk
Whether
crossings.
everyone, people have lost them to bears, river crossings, twisting a gut, whatever. Getting sick and then not being able to get them out.
Yeah.
But so, anyways, that was crappy. We were having a really good time up until that happened, and then we come out, hunt off the Bassam, day hunts, and on I want to say the 5th, on September 5th, Leah and Chris and I were hunting up kind of north of our camp, and we rode up a couple hours, and the whole goal of the trip was to get Chris his first round. Like, that was his first horseback hunt, mountain hunt, like, and he was loving it, right? And he had geared all up, like, he had brand new Sitka gear, the top of the line, everything. He had a GoPro on his chest a lot of the time, and he was having the time of his life, right? And he lays down, and it'd been kind of crappy weather. It snowed on us, and then it got good. And that day, the sun came out, and we were glassing sheep. We were like right at the river, and we had seen maybe some lambs in use, but we were glassing a big long range. I think they call it Round Mountain. I don't even know, but it's like,
I always call every mountain Ram Mountain, and
Well,
no
like,
one actually knows which one it is.
if the highway's running north south here, and then the Redfern Trail's here, and then the Prophet's up here.
Yeah.
It's the mountain you can see from the highway. That's a big long ridge.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like 30. It's a 30 or 40. It's that big. It's like a 5 kilometer long ridge.
An old hog's back.
Yeah.
Kind of a low mountain.
Yeah, it
Not
is.
real jaggedy, nasty.
No,
It's just-
no, it's an older mountain.
It's a winter ranging mountain
Yeah,
too.
and somebody told me they call it Round Mountain. Anyways, we're sitting there, and I'm like, Chris is like on the ball, and it's getting warm out, and it's like black sand, and I got my boots off. I'm walking around in the gravel bar, like just like, this is awesome. It's a nice day. And he's like, I see a sheep. I see a sheep. And it was like, holy shit. And he's like, not looking at the top where you'd expect it. His eyes were on that trip. And he spotted, I think there was 10 rams. I don't know, a group of rams. And Leah and we all like look at them for a while. It's hot out though. Yeah. And we're like a kilometer plus away. And so it's like, yeah, there's definitely rams in there.
Yeah.
Like, and
dancing.
And it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon already. So we kind of decided, okay, we're gonna watch these guys for a couple more hours, and then we'll give ourselves, like, we're not gonna hunt them tonight because, you know, it's probably a bad idea.
And you're September, you're burning, you know, like,
yeah,
you can't make a good.
Yeah, it gets dark at like whatever 8 o'clock. It's dark. Getting dark then.
Inside of cow dark.
And so we go back to camp, and in the morning, the school year's starting right away. So my wife and the other couple, they wanted to go out anyways. Like, that was kind of like the amount of time they had.
Yeah.
And Chris and I didn't have to go back, so we're like, okay, goodbye guys, kiss my wife goodbye, and we're gonna go kill that ram, or a ram, hopefully. Yeah. We're gonna go hunt them, right? And I don't even know if we saw them from the bottom. I think Chris did spot them jumping over the ridge when we got up there in the morning. So we hiked up, and we got down like above them actually, but it was fairly flat. It wasn't like a jagged peak. It was like a nice brushed out alpine top of a mountain.
Yeah.
And big, wide, flat, like nothing's flat.
Kind of like a caribou plateau.
Yeah,
right?
it was. Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of people don't realize how many sheep live in those kind of lower.
No, and they were definitely living in there because you could tell they were living.
The feed's good. Sheep are grazers, right?
Lots of feed.
They're not goats.
And we got on the rams, and I couldn't get a legal on the nicest ram, and it was the end of our hunt, and there was a nice ram, and it was full curl for sure, and we were trying to age it, and the other ram was nicer, which Chris was like, and I'm like, man, I just can't.
I can't guarantee.
And this is our last day. I said, I know that ram is legal.
Yeah.
I think that one is, but I can't get a full curl on it, and I can't get an age on it from here. Like,
and how far are you?
We're only like 300 yards.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It was just I would only, you know, there's 10 rams.
Yeah.
And there's 2, they must have been related because they were like tipped out, same coat color. One was bigger than the other, but they had the same horns.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and he's like, that's the one I want. And I was like, yeah, but this is our, like, I don't know. And so I don't know about that ram, and we didn't want to move because we were kind of pinned when they popped up.
Yeah. Like,
they didn't see us, but they might have smelt us. I don't know. Like, they didn't run away or anything, but they were all kind of, you know, those big rams where we could barely see them half the time, and they go over a hill and there's 6 rams over here and 2 over here, and I didn't want to spook them. I said, if we move around too much, you know,
everything's gone.
It's 1:30 right now. We can sit here for a couple more hours, but they keep on seeming to move that way, and we're not going to be able to just run down this flat mountain after them. Like, we're going to have to wait a couple hours once they go over to like shuffle along some more. So anyways, he shoots his first ram, excellent shot, and we get up to it. It's a legal ram, and he's super happy, and I'm happy, and we get in on it right away because we've got horses tied up down at the river, and we quarter it up and peel all the meat off, and I think I even deboned and just shoved it all in my pack, and I think we were heading off the mountain at like 2:30, like from the top.
Yeah.
And it's not a huge mountain, but it, with the, you know, your pack with your gun and everything, probably I had the rear quarters and he had a bunch of the gear, and I took more meat, but he had more gear. We're probably like that 100-pound pack around, and you know, that's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought, let's get going. We snapped a bunch of pictures and got going down off the mountain, and there's a burn, so you're coming down the mountain and it's fairly wide open. We had to come through a little cliff band.
Yep.
And then fairly wide open until the bottom, like, third. Yeah. And so about 5 o'clock probably, we're going along and we get out of the opening, like the really wide open where you feel like you can see hundreds of yards. Yeah. You know, you can't see everything, but But and then it's old spruce trees that are like 50 feet tall that were in a burn a long time ago. And we started down through there. It's actually pretty easy to move through for a burn. Like everything was still
It's
standing.
old enough that.
But everything was still standing enough. Like there was blowdown a bit, but I've been through them that you can't walk.
Pick
Oh,
up
yeah.
sticks.
Yeah, like
Walk
there's,
on top of it.
you know, it's crazy, right? And this was fairly open still. And as we're going down, Chris, he was behind me, which I try not to do anymore. Like he was like 40, 50 yards behind me, and we're going downhill, and we're in this, like it's brushy. You can still see quite a ways in the right direction, but he turns, or he says something like, I just heard a bear roar. I was like, you know, you're tired, and you're like, bullshit. And
You heard me fart.
yeah. And so all I said, like I said, what? And I just turned around and looked, and he's looking uphill, and he's like, I just heard a bear roar. And at that moment, I heard, it wasn't a roar what I heard, maybe he heard something else, but it was like, like a running thing, like every time.
The chest.
Yeah, I think every time that bear's feet were hit, because it was full bore running, when it hit the ground, it was going like making a crunch.
Exhaust.
Yeah.
Because when they stride
Compressing
Yeah,
lungs.
exactly.
forces
And it was
her up.
running downhill.
like a cheetah.
Yeah,
They
like
can only take one breath per stride, right? Not like us
Yep.
where we can breathe and run.
so. Chris, there was a little hump there, like very little, and he was right underneath that kind of, and I was further back, so I could see them. Oh, so he said I heard a bear roar, and then I thought bullshit, and then he stood there for a couple seconds, and I did too, just looking, because like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to say from 150 yards away, at that point, I see the bear. And this is it's really hard to tell. But this is, say, 5 seconds after we heard it, and there's this sow with 2 cubs just full bore, like, and they are fast. Holy cow.
Cubs are running too.
Yeah, the cubs were kickoffs almost, like they
Yeah.
were probably
Sure.
80-pound
Yeah.
bears, or 100, whatever. They're bigger than my dog.
Yeah.
And they're running straight towards Chris. He couldn't see them yet, and I just started I started yelling at him like that, like the bear's coming, it's coming, and I don't remember the exact words, but anyways, he started beetling towards me, thinking, okay, I'll get to him, and that sow closed. Like she was probably 100 yards from him still when I saw her, and I just started screaming at him like, get your gun out, like get your gun. And so he, like, she's gonna be on you, and he like, so mistake number 1, never put your gun in the side of your backpack unless it's one of those quick release, or like my dad on his pack frame, he had a coat hanger
Yeah.
that he'd sling the strap over. He could just grab the gun.
Yeah.
Mine was shoved in my water bottle holder,
Yeah.
and strapped to the side of my pack, because it's way easier. It's way more comfortable.
Mhm.
And I even thought
These
about it.
guns are horrible to pack.
Yeah, they are. They're
Yeah.
wretched. And I even, when we did it, I don't know if I
And
said
do you run
something.
an external or an internal frame?
I run like an Arc'teryx, a big 80-liter internal. Like, it's not a frame pack.
My frame pack, beauty about it, you have the frame tips.
Yeah.
And you can hook your sling down.
That's
and it
kind of what my dad
hangs.
does.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. So I knew it was a bad idea, but I thought,
I've done it a million
It's
times.
so comfortable.
I spent hundreds
Yeah.
of days in the mountains.
Your story actually makes me
And-
not ever
Yeah.
strap my gun.
Well, I have a Sitka pack, which I really like. It's like a 30-liter pack I bought here. And the gun goes right here behind your back. There's like a loop.
Yeah.
I will never use that again unless I'm packing a second gun.
Yeah.
Like, never. I had meat on my back, so that's something. But anyways, so Chris, instead of just taking his gun off his shoulder, he did the same thing, probably because I thought I did it, and I'm like, yeah, this will be easier. So he did it too, right? And so he takes, and he had a pack just like mine. So he throws his pack on the ground, and the sow's, say, when he does that, she's 80 yards. And he's trying to get his gun out, and I'm got my pack on the ground, and I'm trying to get my gun out, and all of a sudden the sow is like 10 yards from him.
Oh.
And I just scream at him, like, and he turns around and shoves his arm in her mouth, and she takes him to the ground, and he's laying down and she's over top of him, and thank God the cubs never interacted in anything. But have you ever seen a dog killing mice in a field?
Yeah.
Like they like bite.
Yeah.
That's like she was like biting him, and he's like underneath. I could see him pushing on her, and I finally got my gun out, and I have a Tika T3, which I love, which I bought here actually, and Greg knows the gun because he's worked on it. So, like, it's nothing fancy. I got it a semi, like it's a custom action or a factory action that you guys fluted the barrel and put a muzzle brake on.
Yeah.
And then it was a package gun I bought with a Huskamo on it, and so I ripped my gun out of my pack, and so the bear is a little bit farther than that back wall, like with Chris
12
from
yards.
me.
Yeah.
10, 12 yards.
Yeah, no, like the far, yeah. I want to say she was 30. So she was probably 30 yards.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was a distance, and I had my gun out, and I thought I can see him laying there. I can see her like
On.
3 feet above her
Yeah.
or above him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my gun up. I was like dead calm. Like it was crazy. I didn't expect it, but I thought I'll shoot her and then I'll run up and I'll shoot her. Like you don't think much.
No.
But I didn't want to shoot Chris. I knew.
Yeah.
So I close my bolt and I pull the trigger. Click. When I ripped my gun out of my pack, I hit my clip release. There was no clip in my gun.
Holy.
It was crazy. And then I went into full panic mode.
Yeah.
And I spun around. I didn't know where that clip was, but in the top of my pack, I had a second clip. So I grabbed it, slammed it in, closed the bolt, and I put the gun up, and I'm like moving like this.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't shoot. Like,
Yeah. You might
I'll
hit him.
shoot him.
Yeah.
Like, it was like
And shooting him's a guarantee
yeah, it's like a 3-foot group.
Yeah.
Like,
at 30
so
feet.
so all I did was I just yelled at her like I was picking a fight with her. Like I didn't know what would happen, but I was like, hey, hey, as loud and as aggressive as I could. And the cubs actually ran away when I did that.
Yeah.
Which is like, but she just, I don't even know if she knew I was there because she like looked off at him and charged me. Like, didn't even hesitate. It was crazy. So as soon as she came off, I shot and I know I missed. Like I was all excited and she's moved. And like, I watched a guy on YouTube shooting hogs.
Yeah.
Like a German guy.
Yeah, on the run.
Franz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's like a announcer in the background, and this young kid is just whacking these hogs, and they're running.
Yeah.
And he's like, Franz Nils is very efficient with his shots. He waits in places. That was not me. I was like, I like shot, and then she's moving and right at me, and by the time I had opened my bolt and closed it again, she was like 4 yards from me. And all I did was I grabbed that gun like a pistol and I just pointed it at her and I pulled the trigger and then she was on me. And I'm fairly certain they never found the bear. They looked for the bear just to euthanize it if it was wounded.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain I hit her, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been like I could have hit her right there.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I felt like I was like pointing.
Center mass.
Yeah, I felt like I was hitting somewhere in her chest.
In theory, vitals.
But if I did, and it was a good shot, it did not slow her down at all. Like for initially.
Yeah.
Like she didn't like hunch up.
Yeah.
I think I would have had to hit her right between the eyes. The only way.
Yeah.
Like, or like break something like a shoulder.
Nervous system
Yeah.
shut down.
Yeah, yeah.
Spine,
Because like
head.
she didn't even flinch. She just came right over me, and I don't think she was. It's hard to tell, but like I think she's like a 6 foot sow.
Yeah.
Like not even a big, but a healthy.
Mature.
Yeah, like a 250 to 300 pound
In
max.
comparison to a boar, like a sow,
Yeah.
a mature sow versus a mature boar.
I'm
there
pretty
is
sure if that was a
massive
boar,
difference in
I would
size.
not be here. We like, because, so when she attacked me, I remember I did get my gun back like this, and I shot, and then I grabbed my gun, and she kind of like just charged right over that, and I remember like shoving my gun at her, and then she knocked me over, and she was biting me, like you can see
Yeah.
my scars.
Yeah.
And she bit me right here. Like there's a there's teeth marks like this, and it hooked up into my carotid artery. And at the time I didn't know, but I actually suffered like a stroke pretty much. She punctured my carotid artery like a pinprick, and I had a blood clot that went up in my brain. And within seconds, I had no control over the left side of my body. Nothing hurt really. It was insane though. She's like attacking me, and as she's attacking me, she's biting me. And it felt like when you pull something over a rough surface, her teeth on my skull, and it didn't hurt. It was freaking crazy. And I was just mid-attack, and I'm like, this arm, I didn't even realize it wasn't working at first, and I'm like pushing against her, and she like, it was probably for me, I want to say for Chris, we've gone back and forth, we don't know. I want to say she attacked him for 45 seconds, and she ripped him up pretty good. And she attacked me for 5 to 10 seconds. And, but all the damage on my body was just here. She did not chew on me like she chewed on him.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a full bite mark on his arm, like a bear mark.
Yeah.
He had 150 stitches and staples, and I just had to get my head stitched up. But anyways, I'm paralyzed. As she's biting me, it's like, man, it's crazy. I remember thinking, it doesn't hurt. Like, she's biting me. What the heck's going on? And it doesn't hurt. And after however long it was, she kind of she bit me on my butt once through my pants, picked me up and dropped me, like picked me up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then she just ran away. I could hear her because we were right above the river, and there's willows below those spruce trees. And I could hear her and her, like, I think for like a minute or two, because it was dead quiet. There's no wind really. And I think what happened, this is just my thought, I think what happened was she came in on this, the COs think it was, she felt threatened by us. I beg to differ, not to say that they're wrong. They might be wrong, but I feel like she started charging from hundreds and hundreds of yards away, bringing her cubs to us, which very well, maybe she
Smell blood?
Well,
Like, you think? Or?
I had lots of friends that guided in that area,
Yeah.
and those bears are very habituated to hunters. And they said you can pretty much, if you see grizzlies in a valley, you could just pull the trigger, and most of them will turn around and slowly start to head in that direction.
Dinner bell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gut pile or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
And-
Oh yeah, it's very present in
Yeah.
like the Tishoes and stuff. I mean,
Oh.
it's frequent.
So they, I think, just talking with them, that she heard our gunshot on top of them. The wind was going uphill. It was a normal day.
Yeah.
You know, we shot the ram at 2:30, and she heard our gunshot at the top of the mountain, and she was somewhere else, say the bottom of the valley.
Well, they're always in that transitional stuff.
Yeah.
That's where I have all my.
And I think whether it was just a
Berries.
fluke, she didn't hear anything and she smelt our blood, or she was side hilling up to where she thought there was a kill, and then we're below her, and as she, because we had just walked through there, which we could have missed her, but I don't think we came down past her. But anyways, it doesn't matter. I think she brought her cubs down after that meet, thinking that might be the kill. Who knows? Maybe they'll drive these guys off of it.
It's an educational experience for
Yeah,
the Cubs
for sure.
in a lot of ways.
And she attacked Chris, and then she got shot at, and I scared her cubs away, and maybe I did hit her, and all of a sudden she's not feeling, like, you know, the adrenaline wore off 15 seconds later after she got shot, and all of a sudden I was like, ooh, I don't feel that great, my cubs are running away, I'm gonna leave this, right? Because she just left, and she never came back.
Yeah.
And then I'm laying on the ground there. Well, the first thing that happened was I lost control of my bladder, so I pissed myself.
Yeah.
And I'm laying there thinking, I'm still not hurting. Like, my arm and my leg don't work, and what the hell, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. And I wasn't hurting, right? Like, you think when something happens, it's gonna hurt like a bastard, and it was like, I'm just sitting there, and I thought Chris was dead. Like, he had stopped screaming. Like, it was very, like, it was pretty gruesome, right?
Yeah.
And he had stopped screaming, and so I was like, holy, he's dead.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't even get up off the ground. Like, I'm laying there, you know, it's uphill, and there's, like, bushes and blowdown. Like, I couldn't have probably got across this floor very easily, let alone up that hill.
Negotiate and help.
I didn't have to, thank God, because I'm laying there, and I think about 10 seconds went by, and I was just starting to set in, like, holy crap. And here's the kicker. So we had an inReach, but we had one. It was in Chris's pocket up there, right? And I'm thinking, holy cow.
He's dead.
He's dead. I can't get to him. Like, or if he's not dead,
Yeah.
he's out of it
Yeah.
because he got messed up.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to get my head wrapped around this, and then in the most normal voice you could ever imagine, Robbie? And I was like, what the? Yeah. And I'm laying on the ground there, and he's talking like very normal. And I was like, he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, well, I'm here, but the bear's gone, I think, but I can't move. And he's like, okay, I'll be right down. We've been friends since high school. Like, you know, we're pretty close friends. And Chris is a paramedic, the best person you could have. And he, like, emergency services workers, they have that when they're at work, that serious, no emotion thing.
Yeah.
It kicked right in for him. So he comes down and he's like, I'm gonna get you fixed up. And he's coming down. And then he looks over at me, and he looks like a zombie. His eyebrows hanging down, like the bear, like he's covered in blood. And he's just like, how are you doing? And I look up at him, and I'm like, geez, like I didn't say anything, but I'm thinking, man, you look worse than I feel. Like,
Yeah.
and he's just like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know, I can't move. Like, I could feel everything. Like, if I pinched myself, I could feel it, but like, I could like pick my hand up and it was like dead meat. And I'm like, this does not work. I could talk normally. And we didn't know I had a stroke.
Yeah.
And it's actually not called a stroke. I forget that there's 3 letters. It's like it's the same thing, but it's like I wasn't ill. I
Right.
had blood clot from a trauma.
TIA.
TIA.
My uncle just had one 2 days ago.
Yeah, that's what they referred to it. But we didn't know that. So Chris is looking at me. He's a paramedic. He could see my carotid artery, and he didn't say anything.
Yeah.
He's a pro, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to get you fixed up. I've already sent the SOS on the inReach. Help is on the way. And he's like putting me at ease, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, holy cow, he must feel all right. He's not telling me that I can't see, right? This is what I can see.
Yeah.
Like this. And I can kind of go, and he's telling me don't move because I don't know what's the matter with you. So I'm just like laying still. Chris lights me a fire, gets me water, probably the last water we had, and gets my down jacket out of my bag, puts it over me, puts my rain gear, puts my lightly on my head, like gets me as comfortable as I could.
Yeah.
And he loads all the guns, or both guns, gets them loaded up, and then he's texting and he's like, yeah. And I thought he was just texting every time. He's had lost a lot of blood. He's passing out against the tree. He just didn't tell. I didn't even know that for a year. So he's like sitting. He's like, yeah, just wait. I'm just gonna send a message or something. And then he'd sit against the tree and pass out. And then he'd wake back up and then he'd check the message. And to his credit, he had some really good people in Fort St. John that he worked with, that he sent the message to. So we got help like right away because it was 5:30 when I think he sent the message roughly, and helicopters, unless you have like a specialized helicopter and license, helicopters have to be on the ground half an hour after sunset, legally. Like they'll lose their license, right? So they have to set down. So they were pushing it to even get to us in time. 2 helicopters show up before dark, and Chris, but he had texted people to say, get a hold of the right people. We need a long line helicopter. We're stuck in the trees. He can't move. So they dispatched 2 helicopters, one from Fort St. John, one from Port Nelson. And the one from Fort St. John had a conservation officer and a paramedic that Chris actually, like somebody he works with. And the one from Port Nelson had a police officer and 2 other paramedics. And then they all come, but you can't land on the side of a mountain.
No.
Like it's like this and there's trees.
Yeah.
So the one pilot nosed a helicopter in, and the police officer and the 2 paramedics kind of stepped off the running board, and they came. Chris, so the guy who's been passing out, hiked like 400 yards up through the brush, got them, brought them back down to me, and the whole time they're trying to give him first aid, and he's like, no, my friend. So we get down there, and immediately the paramedics like get an IV in me and Chris, giving us fluids, and then they're trying to see, because there's a little bit of time left for flying, and the highway isn't that far from there, Bucking Horse.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to get Chris on a helicopter, and they're like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "I think if he can get out of here, get him out of here." Like,
Yeah.
So they hiked up to where they jumped off, but they just didn't have enough time, and in that whole ordeal there was some miscommunication from one member of the party. I kind of got left down there, and everyone was up there with Chris in the dark, and I got left on the side of the mountain for a couple hours. It was pretty rough deal, but so Chris is like out of it. Like he didn't know anything. Like he's barely conscious, right? And he's ill, and he was really bad.
He's gonna be coming down.
Yeah, like I had the stroke, but I think I was still physically in better shape than he was because of all his injuries. Like he got bit from the top of his head to the tips of his toes on the left side of his body, and most of that on the right. His arms, the back of his neck, the back of his shoulder, all bite marks, like all over.
And so how far was it from where you were laying to where the choppers could extract?
1.5 kilometers probably through like bush, because the mountain's like this, but then the flatland from the river, and it's all like trees and willows.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, but it could have been 300, but like that, you can't walk through that stuff, let alone pack a guy on a stretcher. That I was fairly certain I didn't have C-spine, but they don't know why I'm paralyzed.
Yeah.
So they're like, don't move. Like you can't move. Well, at first, and then they decided to try and move me because there was some panic. Having people trained for that type of scenario is a huge deal. Those 3 people, one of them was capable. She had been in the bush a bit. She was more comfortable around wild animals and guns.
Yeah.
Like firearms. She hunted a little with her boyfriend, I think.
Yeah.
The other girl hadn't at all, and she did really good in the circumstances. The police officer had 0 experience. He definitely was not. It didn't belong there. He was out of his element, and he's the guy with the gun. He's in charge, right? So he shouldn't have been there. Thank God there were people below us on the river, because both choppers just set down on the river.
Yeah.
They were like, "We're spending the night. Like we can't fly out. We're not going to leave them."
Yeah.
So I'm lying there, and a lot of stuff had gone through my head already. Like I thought, this bear messed me up. There's one point when Chris and I are talking as the chopper's coming, because it was 3 hours probably, or 2.5 hours, and he's being the super positive paramedic that you're fine.
Yeah.
You're going to be just fine. We're going to fix you up. I don't know exactly what was going through his mind, but that wasn't it. Right?
Yeah. No.
And but he knew help was coming at least.
Yeah.
And at one point, I don't know what happened, but something with what was going on in my brain, my voice changed and it got really high and reedy, and I freaked out for like 5 seconds. I was talking, and then it went like, and I was just like, "Man, tell my wife I love her." And he's like, "Shut up. Don't shut up right now." He's like, "You're fine." So I had already gone through that stage where I'm like, this might be it. And I was kind of like, okay, people are here to help me. I'm saved. And then you go away from that for a bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's because of all the shit that already happened. I was like, okay, I've just got to buckle down and spend the night here maybe by myself. I don't know. Like, and so I curled into a ball, and I'm laying there in a ball with no flashlight, with a gun that was left for me that I can't use because it took me half an hour to get my down jacket on, because every time I'd grab a log and sit up and then try and get my down jacket on properly, I'd fall over. Finally, I got smart enough, I hooked my t-shirt over a branch, and then I was like that, and I got my down jacket on. So I just curled up in a ball thinking, I have to make it through whatever this is. But it was weird, like
And this is where you're left alone by yourself as they're extracting him, or getting to the chopper.
No, they had gotten him up there, and this is the miscommunication. the police officer told them that I was fine sitting around the fire, and he just left me there. And he went up with those people, and Chris didn't know better because he's like, man, if he didn't know this for days, right? If I would have known, or he didn't know it till the next day when we were rescued, I would have come back down there, and he's like he's like messed right up.
Yeah.
And it's the two girls too, right? Like they just, I think it was probably only an hour. I don't know. It was pitch black but
It's a long time.
it is. And I just was like, I just gotta stay warm, make it as long as I have to make it.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually worried about the bear, and that's what the officer, like he was panicked.
Yeah.
For sure. Like there's a ton of people that would have been a way better choice to be there with him. But anyways, so he was just panicked, right? And he was acting irrationally because he was scared
Of a bear.
Yeah, so that's why he ran up there, because he didn't want to come back to me.
Yeah.
And they lit a fire. I could see the fire reflecting off the trees. Like they were only like 300 yards above me. And I, like, as I was laying there, I could see it, and I could actually hear, and I even heard yelling, and I guess that guy got all, like, he was yelling to keep a bear away. Anyways, so it doesn't matter. I'm looking downhill, and I'm in this, like, I've just got to stay warm, not expend energy. I'm just gonna huddle up here, and I have, like, you know, like thin pants on, like no long underwear. I've been hiking hard all day.
Yeah.
T-shirt and
You come out
like a thin Arc'teryx down jacket, which is a really warm jacket, but like it's not even zipped up.
Yeah.
And you know, it's been getting to almost freezing every night, right? And so I'm just like, okay, curl as much as I can in the ball. And as I'm looking down the hill, there's and I'm just laying there looking down the hill, because what else am I going to do?
Yeah.
I see like LED light, and I was like, what the hell? There's nobody definitely within 10 kilometers of me that I could think of.
Yeah.
I didn't know the helicopter pilot and the CO, so 2 chopper pilots and the CO, the conservation officer, and the one paramedic, Donna, they were down there. I didn't know that. And so I was like, what is this? Am I hallucinating? Like,
yeah.
I watched it for a bit, and then I'm like laying on the ground, and I just started screaming, like as loud as I could. And slowly, after over 10 minutes, somebody starts yelling from down there, and then the light's looking down at me, and I forget exactly what it said, but his name's Micah, and he's the conservation officer. He looked down and he's like, what the hell are you doing here? And I just was like, I'm here by myself, and he was like extremely angry for like 3 seconds, and then he just went professional, just like Chris was.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't worry about it. We're going to light you a big fire. I'm getting a long line chopper. We've got paramedics, blankets, water. You're fine. And they got me all situated. Then he hiked up the hill and grabbed the other group and brought them all to the same, so we're all together.
Yeah.
And that was, I want to say, I don't know, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And the chopper pilots were awesome and built this massive fire. And then the one guy, like, we're all sitting there, they just wouldn't let me move because they thought I had C-spine, so I'm stuck in a stretcher. And they're like, how do you feel? And I'm like, my back's sore from being in a stretcher. Like, I feel fine. They're like, yeah, but you can't move it. So I'm laying there, and we're just waiting.
Kleenex.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're just sitting around talking, and the police officer's obviously pretty quiet. But the one helicopter pilot lived in Whitehorse, and he was going doll sheep hunting in like a week. So we're talking, and like he's like cold because he didn't have gear and stuff, because they just like end up with the bush.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, on my backpack, you help yourself to whatever you want. So he's like got my Sitka jacket on and my gloves on him, like different stuff, and he's like, man, these are awesome, like you can have them. Like I don't need them. And he's like, no, I'm not taking your stuff, that's weird. But thank you. Anyways, so the night just progressively got better.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
At I think it was about 3 or 3:30 in the morning, a helicopter from Comox, the search and rescue, like the military, it's what is it called? It's twin rotor cormorant.
Cormorant,
yeah.
Big yellow
The
bird.
big
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah, comes flying up from Comox into the mountains. They had to stop for fuel along the way even.
Yeah.
And they, in the middle of the night with like infrared or however they do it, they found us like with their coordinates too.
Yeah.
They dropped off 2 dudes. The guys like rappel out of the side of a helicopter, and they're like pros. They're military. They're like, you know, these guys are
Stone
amazing.
cold.
Oh yeah,
Just
yeah. There's
get
no
business
smiling.
done.
No, how are you?
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Quickly. Okay, we're gonna get you in this basket. We're gonna get Chris in this basket. So they had like a cage that Chris had to get into. He said it was cold as hell because the chopper went away for a bit. These guys got us all bundled up.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of freaky. There's like dead spruce trees blowing around underneath this helicopter. They had to put the fire out before it got there.
Yeah.
And anyways, those guys get me in like a stretcher wrapped in a tarp,
Yeah.
and Chris in a basket, and they even took 2 of the paramedics out because they didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
And they get them up in the chopper, Chris up in the chopper, and then I went up, and that was one of the scariest moments of the whole night. It was because there's bright lights and noise and wind, and I have a tarp. I can't see anything, and you're like stuck in this thing, and as soon as you get 2 inches off the ground, you don't know if you're 40 feet off the ground, if the helicopter's flying around with you. It was freaky. And I remember just being like, oh my God, the helicopter's gonna crash, or a tree's gonna hit me. And then all of a sudden they pull you into the bay, and I remember a couple things from that. Like, I never really blacked out. We're in there, and these guys are still all business. I think they shot me up with morphine, and probably Chris too. And they're like Sartecs. So these guys can shoot guns. They can jump out of helicopters into the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, they've been on military. Like they have been like in the military.
Yeah.
And so they're pros.
Yeah.
And they're talking back and forth, and it was funny because the 2 paramedic girls that had been with us most of the night, and Chris the whole night, the guys had like saline solution and whatever, and they started like cleaning Chris off, and I'm just laying there on the side, and the girls started laughing because they were like, because he had dried blood all over, like he was black, red, right?
Yeah.
And they were wiping off his face, and they're like, holy cow, we thought you were black. Like, for real. They're like, we could not tell. That's how much blood was on his face.
Holy.
They fly us to Fort Nelson, and then they drop us off there, and then they cut all my clothes off my body, which was really weird. And like my down jacket, they're like cutting it, and I remember one paramedic being in the ambulance, because they're prepping you for being on the air ambulance, like jet.
Yeah.
To Vancouver we were heading.
Yeah.
And they're like cutting this down jacket off, and there's feathers everywhere. And there's this one guy with the safety bag like picking them out of the air. But
Save the jacket.
Oh,
And you're thinking, yeah, that cost
like,
me $600. I
yeah,
want to
that's
do
an
it.
expensive jacket. So then we get on that plane. We get to Vancouver. I think it was 9:30 in the morning the next morning.
Yeah.
We get in right away. I think like they checked us out to make sure I wasn't going to bleed out probably, and Chris wasn't going to.
Yeah.
And then they were going to send me for a CAT scan. It was the craziest thing because like the morning before, the day I got attacked, when I got attacked, my wife was still riding a horse, and she was
On her way out still.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. She had like 4 hours to go when I got attacked.
Yeah.
So when the first helicopters landed and everyone's, even when by the time Micah and Donna and the 2 pilots got up to me, she probably wasn't even still at the highway yet.
Yeah.
Like not in cell service. Mm-hmm. So I'm laying there in Vancouver the next morning at 9:30, and my wife looks over at me. She's like, "How are you?" And I was like, "What the heck?" And she rode out, flew out, and Chris' wife was there too. And then I kind of lost it, like I got pretty messed up.
Yeah.
For a bit, and then I still didn't know what was wrong with me. And so they did a CAT scan, and they found the blockage. And I didn't know for probably a day or so that I actually had a stroke.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And Chris, like, they started surgery on him, and, you know, he had, like, stitches just everywhere. And they worked on him, and they got me in that afternoon, and they put like to break the clot.
Yeah.
After they fixed me,
Yeah.
they broke the clot to try and lessen the brain damage.
Yeah.
And then they basically what they did with my vein is it was just a tiny pinprick. So they took another piece of vein out of my leg for my artery, and they like laid it flat and then wrapped it around and stitched it on. Like, you know, this is tiny little micro stitches. The surgeon showed me a picture, and he's like, yeah, I did like 10 little stitches, and it's like a pinhead, right?
Wow.
But fixed me up. So I come out of surgery. I'm laying in bed there, and for some reason I had it in my mind, they're gonna do surgery on me, and I'm gonna walk out of here and go home.
Yeah.
Like I'm good.
I'm fixed.
Yeah.
I'll be fixed.
Laying in bed, wake up, nothing works on my left side. Like nothing. Like I could feel, but like nothing at all. And I'm freaking out. Wife comes in, Leah comes in, and she could tell I'm like panicking.
Yeah.
She's like, "What's the matter?" And I'm like, nothing works." And she's like, "Well, they didn't. Like they said it might work, but you might just have to heal." And I am like freaking out for like half an hour. I'm like, "Nope, nothing works." Finally, I moved my fingers like that, and I was like, all of a sudden I calmed right down. And I'm like, I'm gonna get better.
Yeah.
And a doctor comes in, and she's like checking, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, "Good, I can move my hand." She's like, "Oh yeah, it's an autonomic response, like it's just your nervous system." And I was like, "No, I can move my hand. Watch." I move my hand, and she like gets all excited, runs out of the room, gets all these other doctors. She's like, "Don't get excited, but we need to see this." And I move my hand again, and it took me, I was in the hospital. So it was September 6th, I think we got attacked. September 7th, I got operated on. I was in the hospital for 10 or 11 days. Chris was there for most of that time, and then he got sent home. He was still pretty messed up, and as soon as I was healed up enough, I got put into GF Strong, because I didn't actually have a lot of injuries. Like you can see, like I didn't have damaged muscles,
Yeah.
broken bones,
Yeah.
and so I ended up in GF Strong, which was amazing. It's a full physiotherapy rehab facility.
Yeah.
They have, I don't know if they still do, but they had 3 floors. One was like spinal injuries, and mine was like brain injuries.
Yeah.
And then there was whatever other injuries. But the whole hospital it's an old hospital, and it's dedicated to getting people working better. And so I went till November, I want to say, almost into December. I went every day, 5 days a week. I lived in there until middle of October.
Yeah.
In the hospital, and I had like physiotherapists, occupational. I had like 5 hours a day of people getting me better.
Yeah.
And it was unreal. Like I attribute, like I'd say I'm 95 or better %. I have a little bit less coordination and balance on this side, but
It's your left side. Most people are that way.
yeah, like, you know, I do a lot of things with my right, but it's all, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's all minor. I'm moving around. I'm doing pretty much everything I did before.
You're back in the mountains.
Yeah, and it doesn't affect my life really at all, other than I get frustrated sometimes with it. But it was quite the ordeal. But it was also like a really weird time of my life, because my wife got to have, like, the school board, she had a ton of sick days.
Yeah.
And they said, well, you can stay down there for as long as you want, but you have like 62 sick days.
Yeah.
So use sick days.
Yeah.
Like, you know, be with your husband.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law stayed with our kids. She had been living up here to be with her grandkids a lot. And so she had been at her house, knew the schedule with the kids, school, whatever. Like, she knew their life, right?
Yeah.
So they just stayed at the house with grandma.
Yeah.
And they told Kinley, my son, because he was in school, they said, your dad got in a fist fight with a grizzly bear and he won. Like, that's what, so just because they knew he was going to school, that people are going to bring it up, right?
Yeah.
And so he just went to school thinking, oh, dad fist fought a grizzly bear, he's just getting better, but he's fine.
Yeah.
And Leah spent, like, to almost the end of October with me down there. And after, like, a couple weeks, I could get in a wheelchair. And I could kind of get up and, like, I was feeling just fine. Like, I didn't feel sick or anything. So we'd, like, it was like we'd go on dates every night. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it was really weird. Like for like a month, we were like going out and like no kids. And it was like we said, you know, until we retire, this is probably the only time we'll ever do this. And I said, I feel like I'm cheating, other than I can't walk. But like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel fine.
Yeah.
And then I got better. Like I could walk. So when they bring you into GF Strong, it's probably the same at a lot of those type of places. They assess you for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks in, I had just started to move my arm like that,
Yeah.
and like my leg worked a little bit. I could stand on it, but I wasn't. I was getting better really quick in their eyes
Yeah.
from what they're used to, because I was a healthy person.
Yeah.
And but they said, okay, well, what's your house like? And our house is a 20 wide modular home.
Yeah.
And it's on piles. So there's 5 steps into it, and then there's no steps in the house. They said, well, okay, when you go home, our goal for you is you'll be able to get up those steps in and out of a vehicle and in and out of the bathtub. And that's our goal for you. And I was like, no, that is not happening. Like, I have a business that I run out of my yard. I'm a very active person. And when I go home, it's going to be winter. It's going to be slippery, cold. I can't get to town as easy for physio. I can live half hour out of town.
Yeah.
I need to run. And they were like, oh, well, let's talk about it in a couple weeks. 2 weeks later, they had another one, and I was already jogging. And they were like, okay, what is your goal now? And I said, when I leave here, I need to be able to run 5K. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I need to be able to use my arms.
Yeah.
And we got there. It like, life's just got better every day since.
Yeah. What day did you come out of GF Strong?
I want to say...
Or allowed to go home, let's put it that way.
Well, I could have gone home earlier, but I kind of forced them to keep me
Yeah.
there. Because they were like, oh, you're doing really good. You can go home now if you want. And I said, I don't want to go home. I can't get this at home.
Yeah.
Like, I need to stay here until I get everything I can.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, cool, you're an outpatient now. So I just I bought a cheap car, and I lived at my brother-in-law's and sister-in-law's, and drove every day.
Yeah.
And I think it was November. It was
deer season was kind of piling up. I think.
Yeah, it was the end of deer season.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was right at the end of November, because they had to. So in the meantime, when you get hurt, which I don't think is a bad thing, everyone wants to do something, and the most common thing is a GoFundMe page.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't need financial assistance, and Chris didn't either. So we decided that we would donate all the money to search and rescue, right? And on the GoFundMe page, they raised $16,000.
Wow.
And then a bunch of friends threw a benefit dinner the night, or like 2 nights out. I was right after I got back.
Yeah.
And I think you were there, were you?
Yeah.
And then they had like an auction. A bunch of local friends that are business owners bought the booze. They paid for everything as a fundraiser for the search and rescue thing. They fundraised another $16,000.
Wow.
It was crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so it was right at the end of the deer season. It was, because I remember somebody was like, oh, let's go out hunting tomorrow. I'm like, I'll wait a little bit. And then we donated that money to, I think the Prince George was trying to get a long line program going, so the money got donated there. But yeah, it was, and then I actually started working as a swamper a bit with Chris actually in December, because he was already back at work a bit, and he got me into a really good physiotherapist in Fort St. John, and I went there a couple times a week, a couple hours each time, and then did my exercises and progressively got better all winter. And I actually ran the Emperor's Challenge the next summer. It was amazing. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It's got to be one of the most intense stories I've ever heard, and to hear it firsthand just blows me away.
It was.
I've heard it.
Yeah, but
nothing like that.
No, that's. I'm sure. I feel like, especially as time goes by, it's been 4 years now, right?
Yep.
Like really, like just past 4 years, and I feel like it becomes a little blurrier every year because it's not that traumatic anymore.
Yep.
But I feel like the story is slightly different, like just the way you remember things or what you remember to tell every time. But it's quite a. It's
an ordeal.
It's an experience.
Well, and I find it an honor that you were willing to share that story with us. I was a little leery reaching out to you because I didn't want to offend you by trying to use your story as a
No,
promotional type event.
No.
I think it can be an educational event, and before we get into that aspect, I got a couple more questions about the event.
Go ahead, ask questions.
And what was it like? You're home, you've healed up, you're back in the business, everything's good. What was it like the first time you stepped out into the bush? Whether it was like we're talking hiking, we're talking camping.
It was. I went grizzly hunting the next spring. Not for revenge thing. I don't have a problem with bears. I'm definitely so. I was like, I think Chris has got past it, but I think it was more traumatic for him in the fact that he got mauled seriously.
Yeah.
And then he had to deal with me.
Yeah.
Right. Like he had I was out of it. Like whatever. I shot at the bear and then it ran away. And then that was it for me. I didn't do anything after that.
Yeah.
It was all on him, right? And he's a paramedic too, so he's got to rescue me. And he's not that good himself, and he just got eaten by a grizzly bear. So he's getting back into hunting more, but he's it was a pretty hard ordeal for him.
Yeah.
And a lot of traumatic stuff. For me, for some reason, the life aspect of it was fairly easy. I didn't have a lot of nightmares. The worst thing that happened was 4 days after I got attacked, Matt, my brother, had bought me an iPad, and he downloaded a bunch of games on there, and I'm in the cafeteria at Vancouver General. I think my parents were right there somewhere, or Leo and Matt were, my brother, and there was a deer hunter game, and I'm playing it, and a bear charges me on the freaking thing. I almost threw that. Oh my god, I almost had a heart attack. But that was like one of the scary. Like I've only had a couple of dreams, and they weren't like nightmares.
Yeah.
But going into the bush, even like when I'm at my house now, I'm like, I need bear spray or I need something when I'm with my kids.
Yep.
It's not as much when it's me.
Yeah.
Like I am definitely way more cautious. But like when I'm with my wife and kids, I need something to like reassure me a little bit, like, or to make me feel like I've got my bases covered. Like we usually have a couple dogs.
Yeah.
And if we're hiking, I pack a gun, she packs bear spray.
Yeah.
And going into the bush, my gun does not leave me.
Yeah.
And so now I've tried a couple different things. Still the best thing with my pack is I just stick my gun over my shoulder and I will clip my clips over if I'm in really rough terrain.
Yep.
Yeah.
And at least a person should time this. You're so slow. Say 5 seconds, I'm ready to shoot.
Yeah.
As opposed to 30. That's the
And you
other.
have 2 mags in your gun now.
Yeah. So the really cool thing was that Greg and my brother Matt did. But so I lost that clip, and my brother was like, "Well, I see this as a problem. Like not the losing the clip, but like you didn't have access to one." So Greg built a clip holder right in the bottom of my gun that another clip can clip right into my stock.
Look up.
And
The next one.
and this thing is awesome. Like so I have a Tikka T3, a 7mm mag. I have 4 clips for it. I have 2 4-shot clips, which are a longer clip, and I have 1 3-shot clip that works still. My other one's messed up. So I carry my 4-shot clip right here, which is a little unwieldy because it's not smooth then.
Yeah.
And then I take this clip,
And I don't
This
have
one
the
doesn't have the
latch.
spring in
and
it, but
it fits in just like that. And there's the same releases on my gun, and I can just pop that clip out, and I carry 4 shots in my magazine.
yeah.
I don't usually carry one in the chamber.
Yep.
Because I don't want to shoot myself or somebody.
Yep.
Unless it's a bad situation.
Yeah.
I carry 3 shots there, which that thing is awesome.
Yeah.
And then I also in my bino pouch I have a 4-shot clip.
Yeah.
And you have enough to, like, if something goes wrong when trying to kill something, you have options, and you also have 2 different times after you shoot that you can be like, okay, let's reassess this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is awesome. And I don't know, was that strictly at first because Matt asked for it, like, or had you already
I
kind
had
of thought
developed
of it?
it on my own rigging.
It's
and then
awesome.
after the fact.
Mine looks beautiful, just like that. I have a lighter stock similar to that, and that thing's wicked.
This is a design that was designed in-house. Greg's one of the brainchildren on this thing, and it is something that is available for Tikkas only in aftermarket stock. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions about this. But
Yeah, money well spent. And that's so the last thing that I think, so carry your gun so you can get it. That's super important. Yeah, if you've got a huge group of guys, okay, if somebody wants to put a gun in a pack, cool. But like 2 guys, 2 guns.
Numbers are numbers,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, if you only have one gun because you're going light, have that gun super handy, and the best guy to use that gun should have it in his hands. Because like, I am not a great shot at a running bear that's charging when I'm excited.
Yeah.
Some people probably would have dumped that bear.
Well, and you would have been the first time around until the panic set in because you were stone cold and calm.
To be honest, now if the same thing happened, if I could use my brain enough,
Yep.
I would probably wait till that bear had his mouth in my barrel.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I would have taken the first shot.
Yeah.
Like at that close, I would wait until I could touch its head with that gun.
Yeah.
Or
Jam it down
something
its
like
throat.
Right here, tucked
Yeah.
in tight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You will
because
You will get flesh.
yeah, I know, because I could have missed that second shot too. I might have.
Yeah.
But that's something I've learned. The second thing is,
Because you
Where
only
she-
get one.
yeah, unless you got a semi-automatic rifle, which I'm not big on.
No, because you probably will have a jam.
Yeah,
Murphy's
or
Law
something
says.
bad happened or
Yep.
whatever. But everybody kind of runs a bolt-action rifle.
And if you can get low, the same line so that you're
Yeah.
not shooting.
I think it's something I need to practice more. But like shoot. Like I shoot off a bench,
Yeah.
but that's a totally different scenario.
Yep.
Like, having a really good duck hunter who's good in the bush would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Because those guys know how to shoot.
Yeah.
Fast.
Yeah.
Quick
Yeah,
target
the moving target,
acquisition
yeah.
and
Yeah.
falls.
But regardless, have your gun handy. And we had one in reach. I probably had $10,000 worth of gear on me. I had Sitka rain gear, Sitka pants, poly this, a Sitka toque that's $38.
Yeah.
I had my brother's Swarovski spotting scope. I had my Swarovski range-finding binoculars. I had $3,000 rifle plus $100, $200 worth of ammo.
Yep.
Knives, all the the backpack. You easily can have up to $10,000 in that pack with your optics, tripod, rifle, gear.
Yep.
Why wouldn't you each have an inReach? You can get a cheaper one for $300 or $400.
Yeah.
The top of the line one's $600 or whatever it is, $650. And what is your life worth? If Chris wouldn't have got up off the ground with his inReach,
Yeah.
I might not be here today, right?
Yeah.
It's and now I carry mine on me. I don't even carry it in my pack. I carry it like when I'm hiking. I carry it in a pocket so that
Everybody.
because I don't know if I've never been in a car accident or anything where you can't use your body, but that was the first time in my life I wasn't invincible.
Yeah.
Like you always think you get hurt. Oh, I'll drag a broken arm. Yeah, it'll suck, but
Yeah.
I'll get out of there. Laying on the ground when your body doesn't work that was the most sobering moment of my life. Like to know that, holy crap, I can't just get out of this. But if that's a pretty good insurance on your pocket. Ours worked really well. And inReach people were really good. The search and rescue was really good. It was pretty amazing all around. But it's $550, and if you're only hunting with it, I think it's $2.95 a month to take your subscription down to it's
Bare-
not working,
bare
but
minimum.
you keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can do that 3 times a year, I believe. They are amazing.
Yeah.
And they're not the only people out there, but the thing I like about the inReach is it's worked for me. It works well. You can tie it into your phone for easy texting.
Yep.
And they're even coming out with new technology now that Garmin bought it every year.
Yep.
They just get better and better. I'm guessing you wait another year or two and there'll be something even better.
Brand new one just came out 3 weeks ago. GPS Map 66i, I think it's called. And it's the inReach technology in a full topographical map GPS
Oh, that would be.
with the micro SD slot, so you can put your BC Backroad map book or
For real.
global. You can
That
travel
would be
anywhere.
awesome.
Just came out. We've got one. We can't keep them in stock. They're a little more money. They're more in the $800 price range.
Yeah.
But like you say, cheap insurance on your life.
Yeah, I think my brother and I have bought and given away at different things, like 6 or 8 of them since my attack.
Yeah.
Like they, spend, well, you guys sell inReaches too, so this isn't too bad. Spend $600 less on your rifle or optics and get, that is way more valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't need the top of the line designer camo.
No.
You can buy price point.
Flannel shirt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, or buy bargain bin stuff for that and buy it. You can even find inReaches, like used in, like whatever. Everybody should pack one. If you're gonna go do that kind of activity, everybody should be packing.
And whether you're snowmobiling, rafting, whatever, I got a buddy that's texting or messaging me 3 times today because he's rafting a river right now.
That's awesome.
And he sent out 3 messages, and I can see where he's at, and I knew where he launched. And
yeah, it's a really good peace of mind for your family at home too.
Yeah.
Or like, the other thing is sometimes you don't need it for emergency, but you need it because you're stuck in the bush for some reason. Your quad broke down.
The river comes up.
Yeah.
You're like, for my
or
own
your jet
safety,
boat breaks.
Oh, your jet boat breaks down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The texting aspect is so much more advanced than the I'm okay, need it, in distress but okay, and send help.
Yeah.
There's a lot between those buttons.
So,
Need impeller.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah,
That's it.
I got a flat tire, whatever.
Yeah.
And you send that, they get a map, and they're fairly accurate.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
So, like, if the person has any, or they can talk to somebody who can figure out their way around the bush, if there's a way to access that, that map is amazing.
Yep. We got stuck in an ice flow. It was Mother's Day weekend, and we we riverboated up the Pine River, got off and started hiking looking for antlers.
Yeah.
And while we're up on the hillside, we get a page from Rod's daughter that's sitting down by the boat with her friend keeping the fire going.
I had already left at this point.
Look over the bank, there's lots of ice and it's hitting the boat. We're like, okay, a bit of ice broke loose, go over. The boat is being lifted up at an angle, a boat that they had that was a maiden voyage, or...
Yeah, I hadn't even paid for it yet.
I hadn't even paid for it. And it's up like this with chunks of ice the size of Volkswagen Beetles pushing it, and it's pulling it out into the river, and the whole river's just moving. It's just bubbling with ice. So we, fast as we could, got down there. Rod and I jumped onto an ice chunk and into the boat, and I started chucking everything to them because the boat's like this.
Yeah, it might
and
go.
chucked everything out that we could use.
It's got a shoelace for a frickin' bow line.
Oh, old shoelace. So we got all of the ratchet straps hooked onto the bow and tied to trees, and it took us a couple hours just to get it into shore.
Enough.
And where we were comfortable with it. But we had to hike up and got to a spot where we could get a signal, and we got a message out to Greg letting him know what happened, and said, in case you need to come for us in the morning, we don't know how this is going to play out. Next morning, we ended up building a little shelter, sat around the fire all night, tried to sleep in little waves, but it was -3, -4. It was raining on us. But we had a fire, we had some snacks because we brought enough food to get us through, and the next morning...
It was an Easter, yeah, it wasn't Mother's Day, it was Easter.
Easter. The next morning
and I had, my sister was there.
And her kids.
Her kids, and
Yeah.
all
Oh,
this
so you
kind of
got to
stuff.
keep it like.
We took 2 boats up, and he had to leave with the one boat.
Because they were going to leave later, so I'm like, at like 7:30, because it mean light out forever. Her kids were being just,
Kids.
difficult.
Yeah.
So they were done. So I was like, perfect, yeah, we'll head out. And these guys are, there's lots of time left.
Yeah.
We're just hiking around, farting.
There's 6 of us out
having
there.
Easter egg hunts
Yeah.
and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I get to the top of the Taylor Hill and bling, I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Really? And what it was is the whole Murray cabbed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And the whole
Hours and like there was ice flowing from, let's say, 4 or 5 in the afternoon until about 9:30 at night. The ice was finally done, and then the whole river dropped 3 feet. Now this massive 350 Chevy engine riverboat is high and dry on the bank, and we got to get it 10-15 feet down to the water's edge the next morning. And it's a story all for itself. But just we had to get up to get a basic message out to him.
Oh, on a cell phone.
On a cell phone.
Yeah.
We didn't have it in reach.
Yeah.
So now everybody's got it in
The
reaches.
technology is so amazing. Like when we were guiding, there wasn't inReaches.
Yeah.
There was sat phones that worked all right. We had a Global Star system, which was all right back then.
Yep.
But like
How big
sometimes
is this? Like,
yeah, it was. Well, it was because they're expensive and they'll
Packing
figure
Pelican case
Yeah.
this big.
Yeah, some guys
Waterproof bone.
Some guys had like it almost looked like a protein shake
yeah.
container, but
Well,
we weren't
yeah.
supposed to. We were supposed to leave it in that Pelican case with the spare battery and the
Yeah.
charger and pack it around in our backpack. And,
Yeah.
and it, you know, it weighed like 4 or 5 pounds.
Yeah.
The case alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't thank you enough for coming in tonight.
Yep.
We
No
are
worries.
running out of memory on the camera for sure.
That's
But I
that's
mean,
fine.
we got through it, and it is, like I say, that's probably one of the most, I don't want to say overwhelming, but I mean, I'm blown away. I was just about brought to tears hearing your story.
Oh, I come to tears easy.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, the emotion and the power that came across in that is just, it's an unbelievable story that I'm very happy that you were willing to share it with us and share it with the world. And if anyone can learn anything from it,
Yeah.
like you say,
And they
carrying
will.
your firearm, spend the money, buy an inReach.
Yeah, and
do
in reach or
things.
buy something.
Yeah.
And carry it on you. Like, don't, like, just like my gun, don't,
Yeah.
like, just,
Don't
those
leave it
are
at the
important tools.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I can't stress that enough.
Robbie Austin, everybody. And if you have any stories of your own that you think would be excellent for a podcast, you want to come in and talk to us, please reach out and subscribe, follow us, and reach out. And if you want to share anything with us or get on this show or know somebody that would be an excellent guest, please contact me, Aaron at Corlanes.com, or leave a message through whether it's YouTube or whatever media you saw this on, and let's make it happen. Thank you very much.